There is a strip mall in Elgin, Illinois, sitting on the bones of the greatest watchmaking empire America ever built. No plaque, no monument, just a place where 4,500 workers once stood shoulder to shoulder building the timepieces that ran a nation. For a century, if you reached into your pocket and pulled out a watch, there was a very good chance it came from this city. Then, on a Sunday morning in October 1966, they set a charge of dynamite at the base of the clock tower, and in seconds, 100 years of American history came down. It is 1864. The Civil War is still burning, and in Chicago, a group of businessmen, including the city's own former mayor, Benjamin W. Raymond, sit around a table with $100,000 and an idea that sounds, by any measure, audacious. If Massachusetts could build a watch factory, Illinois could too. They chose Elgin, a young city 35 miles north of Chicago on the Fox River. The city donated 35 acres of farmland to secure the deal. For craftsmen, the founders traveled directly to the Waltham Watch Company in Massachusetts, the best watchmakers in America, and walked out with 7 of them. Each one was offered $5,000 a year, a $5,000 bonus, and a parcel of land. They called these men the 7 Stars. The factory opened in 1866, steam-powered and built close to the river. And on April 1st, 1867, the first pocket watch movement came off the floor. It was named the B.W. Raymond in honor of the company's president. The price, $117. Pork chops cost 3 cents a pound. This was not a watch for everyone yet, but that was about to change. Imagine standing on the factory floor in 1920. The smell hits you first. Machine oil, brass shavings, the faint metallic tang of something being made to impossibly tight tolerance. Then the sound, hundreds of precision lathes running in rhythm, and above it all, the quiet concentration of women, more than half the workforce, bent over instruments that could not afford a single mistake. The Elgin plant on National Street covered 13 acres of floor space. Trainloads of raw materials came in one end: iron, gold, brass, rubber, oil, leather. Finished watches came out the other. Elgin built the machines that built the machines that built the watches. Every step, every component made under one roof. What separated Elgin from the old world was philosophy. European craftsmen still built watches one at a time, hand-fitting each part to each other. Elgin built to interchangeable tolerances. If your Elgin watch broke 20 years after you bought it, you could find a replacement part. That idea that a precision instrument could be both mass-produced and repairable was radical in 1870 and still is. By 1928, there were 14,418 retail jewelers in the United States, and all but 12 carried Elgin watches. All but 12. In 1951, the company produced its 50 millionth movement. At the peak, Elgin was responsible for more than half of every jeweled watch made in America. And then they reached for the stars, literally. In 1910, the company built its own astronomical observatory 2 blocks from the factory, a 2-story stone dome on Watch Street, staffed by professional astronomers, accurate to 1/10 of a second. Every clock in every room of that factory was synchronized to it. The slogan said it all: Elgin takes the time from the stars and puts it in your pocket. In 1942, the United States government gave Elgin its new orders. Stop making civilian watches. The war needed this factory now. Elgin answered without hesitation. The plant converted, producing Navy chronometers, fuses for artillery shells, altimeters for aircraft, sapphire bearings for cannon aiming systems. At the height of wartime production, more than 5,500 people worked that floor. The company won 10 Army-Navy E awards for fulfilling government contracts ahead of schedule. It was genuine patriotism, and it contained a slow-burning catastrophe. Switzerland was neutral. Switzerland kept its factories running, kept its exports flowing, and by 1945, Swiss manufacturers had captured 95% of the American watch market. Walter Cenerazzo, president of the American Watchworkers Union, stood before a congressional committee in Washington in May 1942 and laid it out plainly. The government had told American workers they could not produce for civilians, while Swiss factories shipped watches into the United States at prices below what it cost to make them on American soil. That door, opened by American sacrifice, was never fully closed again. After the war, Elgin tried to pivot: decorator clocks, transistor radios, wedding rings. They partnered with the French company Lip on an experimental electromechanical watch movement that consumed enormous resources and ended in failure. Of 6,000 pieces sold in Chicago in 1962, more than 90% were returned because the movement stopped at the slightest shock. The heart of the business was slowing. The diversification was not an expansion. It was a distraction. And there is a difference. By the early 1960s, Elgin was fighting a war on every front and losing most of them. The Swiss had prestige. The Japanese, Seiko leading the charge, had price and speed, and over the horizon, quartz technology was gathering, something that would render the mechanical watch movement functionally obsolete for most consumers within a decade. In 1963, Elgin relocated manufacturing to a brand new plant in Blaney, South Carolina, a town that voted 61-16 to rename itself Elgin in tribute to the company that was arriving. It felt like optimism. It was the last act. The original Illinois factory closed in 1964, having produced half of all jeweled pocket watches ever made in the United States. Then, on August 23, 1965, the factory bell rang 3 times. 3 strokes, the traditional signal for the end of the working day. This time it was the end of every working day. The workers filed out and did not come back. On October 2, 1966, a Sunday morning timed early to avoid too large a crowd, demolition crews set the dynamite and brought the clock tower down. 150 feet of brick and iron, a landmark 4 generations of workers had oriented their lives around, gone in seconds. Residents who watched from the street said the same thing, over and over. "I can't believe the factory was here for 100 years and now it's gone." In 1968, the last American-made Elgin movement was completed in South Carolina. 104 years of production. 60 million watches. Done. When the company shut down, they sold the name. The word Elgin, representing a century of American precision, changed hands multiple times. Today, it belongs to a company that manufactures Elgin-branded watches in China with Japanese-made movements, sold outside traditional watch dealerships. The name survives. The company does not. A logo is not a legacy. And yet, millions of original Elgin watches still exist, in drawers, in jewelry boxes, in the careful custody of collectors who understand what they are holding. Watches built 80, 100, 120 years ago, still ticking, still accurate, still carrying the name of a city in Illinois that once led the world. The reach of this company into American life was astonishing. The NBA Hall of Famer Elgin Baylor was named after the watch. Robert Johnson, the Delta blues legend, sang about it in 1936. An entire city in North Dakota named itself after this watch because one settler owned one, and it felt like the finest thing he had ever held. 60 million watches, the name on a basketball player, the name on a city, the name on a blues song from 1936. That is not just a company. That is a civilization's thumbprint on time itself. The observatory is still there, the one they built in 1910 to read the stars. It stands on the corner of Watch and Raymond Streets, 2 blocks east of where the factory used to be. The school district runs it now, Children come in for planetarium shows, look up at projected stars, and do not know that this building was built by a watch company that once synchronized its timekeeping to the cosmos and sent that precision out into the world on the wrists of ordinary Americans. The factory is a strip mall. The clock tower is rubble. The name belongs to a company with no memory of the women who stood at those workbenches, or the men who built the machines that built the machines. But the watches endure. 60 million of them, ticking through decades their creators never lived to see, surviving the empire that built them. Elgin did not make a product. It made time itself accessible to people who had never owned it before. The farmer, the railroad worker, the factory hand, they could all afford an Elgin. They could all know to the minute where they stood in the day. You don't build 60 million watches and simply disappear. You leave 60 million small machines running in the world, each one a kind of memory, each one still counting forward. Elgin is gone, but every one of those watches is still asking the same question it always asked: what time is it? And somewhere right now the answer is still coming. Tick by tick, from a drawer or a display case or the palm of someone who knows that some things, built well enough, outlast everything. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the next video on your screen for another interesting breakdown on watches.